Ogun State. The Adubi War actually took place in Ewekoro, the current Ewekoro local government. That was where the Adubi War took place. And it took place in 1918, I think between June, July. That was when this war took place. Some people said till August, but some people said the war was just 3 weeks. Some historical references said the war was just 2 months. But the Adubi was the village head, like Bale of Elere. You know, that area of Elere village, if I'm right, is it Elere? I know it's going to be Elere. Today, Ibatimulo ka different historical archives, wọ́n fi àmì wọ́n fi sí bẹ́ẹ̀. Ní àbùkù lè jẹ́ Elere ló yẹ kó jẹ́. So Elere village. And during this time, before 1918, there was a massacre that happened in Abeokuta. They call it the Ijemo massacre. Look, let me tell you something about Egba people. Egba people, please, I'm not insulting you. Egba people are very, very rebellious. If you want to cheat them, they will not agree with you. So they don't take nonsense. So the Ijemo massacre was the massacre that happened conducted by the British in 1914 against a particular people of Ijemo, you know, the villagers, who are complaining about the high-handedness of the colonial agents against when they tortured the particular activists. So there was one activist, I think his name is Solanpe, who was of Egba origin, who was an activist. So the issue of activism did not start in 2024 or 1999. Yoruba people are known activists. So there was an activist who was campaigning against the colonial government, that the Egba United government was an independent country. So why should the British be imposing free labor, hard labor, and all those things on the Egba government and be controlling the government? So what happened was that this particular activist was arrested and tortured to death. So the people of Ijemo stood up, you know, and they said the British colonial officials have to go, and the Alake of Egba, who was the president of the Egba United government, also needed to resign. So what happened was that over 40 people were gunned down by the colonial officers, so who shot them dead. It was a massacre. So the issue of government security agents shooting down unarmed people, protesters, did not start in 2020, did not start in 1999. It has always been like that. If you go through the history, the pre-colonial history of Nigeria, the colonial history of Nigeria, and the post-colonial history of Nigeria. So, the Ijemo massacre already made a lot of Egba people to be angry. What sort of nonsense is this? How people were killed. And it was during this time Lord Lugard was doing his amalgamation. So in order to be able to, because the Alake wanted to shift and allow, move, change allegiance, and switch over to the French, because Abeokuta and almost half of Ogun State would have been in Benin Republic today. So the British now say, oh, no problem, look, the amalgamation does not affect you. You are still going to have your own complete autonomy outside the rest of the other Yoruba people and the rest of Nigeria. So that was the kind of agreement they had. So the 1914 to 1918 war, of the world wars that happened, made British broke. Because let me tell you something about British Empire. The British Empire was an exploitative and extractive empire. So what in empire building and in colonialism, it is not fun. Empire building and colonialism is not fun. When they take up a colony, they take up a space, the resources of the place, the human resources of the place is extracted to build the motherland. And that motherland is Europe. It's Europe. So that was what was happening. So after that war ended, Europe was broke. Britain was broke. And they needed more money to be able to run the colonies, to be able to resuscitate their economy. So what they did was they now imposed direct taxes on the people of Egba. And the people of Egba, they are very proud people, free people. Firstly, this kind of a tax, this is a foreign government, and they were not happy with the way some Egba chiefs were participating in this. So it was about the deputy of Adubi, Ige, who was the head of the Elere village. Now, Elere village had a lot of sugarcane plantation. So it had a lot of sugarcane plantation. So because it had a lot of sugarcane plantation, so it was where the resistance actually started happening. If you observe this song, is it the name of this? Is it Tayo Odula? Tayo that released the song was released in 1971. Fela also sang a song about Ogun Adubi, like Omire Kelem Bushebe, Omire Kelem Bushebe. People that know that song can actually come in and come and help. So because sugarcane was so plenty in that place, and people could not even get out and get water, and they were using sugarcane juice as a source of water and to cook for a very long time. So that was that song. So that was what happened. So the deputy of Ige Adubi, who was Molashi, was the one who overheard the plans of the British to impose, because the British wanted to do it indirectly. So Molashi, I think it's also called Awakwe. So Awakwe, Yosha Chemo, he heard it and he quickly went to go and tell Ige Adubi. And Ige Adubi was a chief. I said, look, this is what the British are planning. They are coming to tax us. Direct taxation. We will not agree. We are not going to agree. So immediately the British, the British knew that it was Molashi, the deputy of Ige was the one that went to go and unveil their plans. They arrested him, and that was the beginning of the trouble. He was arrested. And I'm not here to insult our obas, but unfortunately, the Osile, Ake, the Alake, they were part. They were working together with the British, and the Egba people stood up, and they started revolting. And they were able to raise an army of close to 30,000 soldiers. There was a particular book, there was a particular newspaper called the Lagos News Standard. Is it Lagos News Standard or Lagos Standard News? It's Lagos News Standard that was published in 1918. It was that newspaper. Unfortunately, I cannot be putting things, I would have been, yes, it was a video, I would have been making a display on, on PowerPoint or projector for people to actually see a lot of these historical records. Was one who gave the description of the Egba army that organized themselves and declared. Firstly, they declared independence. They said they wanted to expel the entire British colonial government and their local collaborators from Egba land, and they were able to raise over 30,000 soldiers. And now it was not just the Egba people that populated this army. They had the Ijebu people were there, the Yewa people were there, even some of your people were also part of this army. So it was an Egba army, but there were a lot of other Yoruba groups that also came together. And according to this particular newspaper report also said the resistance, the Adubi war, was a disaster for Lord Lugard. Absolute disaster. And the war started, and what the Egba, I don't want to say, I won't call them rebels. Because if you go to Wikipedia, if you check some records, they call them the Egba rebels. Why should I be a rebel in my land trying to fight for my rights? So what the Egba people were saying was, how can you be taxing us? You fought a war in Europe. Why should we pay for it? Why should you impoverish us? In order to be able to solve your life, in order to be able for you to survive. You guys are invaders. You invaded us. You said we have a form of autonomy, that our country is different. Why should we pay taxes to you? If you look at what these our valiant ancestors were saying, they were right. And they went to war. So they destroyed a lot of the telegraph, railway stations, around Wasimi, Ototi, a lot of these places. They started destroying British infrastructures in the Egba country.